There is a skill so powerful that it can completely change the direction of a person's life. A skill that can open doors faster than intelligence. A skill that can build friendships in minutes, create opportunities out of thin air, and turn strangers into allies. And the strange thing is, most people never learn it. Not in school, not at work, not even from their families. Because this skill is invisible. It hides inside everyday conversations, inside small moments, inside the simple act of talking to another human being. Communication. Think about it for a moment. Two people can have the exact same knowledge, the same education, the same experience, yet one of them becomes successful, admired, and respected, while the other struggles to be noticed. What makes the difference? Often, it is not talent, it is not luck, it is how they connect with people. Because humans are social creatures. Every opportunity in life travels through people. Jobs come from people. Business comes from people. Friendships come from people. Even love comes from people. And yet, millions of people walk through life feeling invisible. They enter a room and nobody notices them. They try to start conversations and things feel awkward. They meet new people, but the connection never truly happens. Have you ever felt that way? You walk into a gathering. People are talking, laughing, sharing stories, but somehow you feel like an outsider. You want to speak, but you hesitate. Your brain begins whispering questions. What if I say something wrong? What if they think I'm awkward? What if they ignore me? So you stay quiet, and the moment passes. But here is the truth most people never realize. Great communicators are not born, they are built. The confident person in the room was not always confident. The charismatic speaker was not always charismatic. They simply learned a few small techniques that change everything. And those techniques are surprisingly simple. For example, imagine two different greetings. In the first scenario, someone walks up to you, quickly shakes your hand, glances away, and says a quick, "Nice to meet you." In the second scenario, someone shakes your hand, looks directly into your eyes, smiles warmly, and says your name slowly. "Nice to meet you, David." Which one feels better? Which one feels real? Which one makes you feel important? The difference is only a few seconds, but emotionally it feels worlds apart. This is the power of human connection. People may forget what you say, they may forget what you do, but they never forget how you made them feel. Great communicators understand this deeply. They understand that conversation is not about impressing people. It is about making people feel valued, seen, heard, important. And when someone feels important around you, they naturally want to be near you. They trust you. They respect you. They listen to you. This is why communication is not just a social skill. It's a life skill, a career skill, a leadership skill, a relationship skill, and perhaps most importantly, a happiness skill. Because loneliness is not caused by being alone, it is caused by feeling disconnected. But the moment you learn how to connect with people, the world begins to open. Conversations become easier, relationships become deeper, opportunities begin appearing in places you never expected, all because you learned how to talk to people. And in the chapters ahead, you will discover powerful yet simple techniques that can completely transform the way people respond to you. Techniques used by charismatic leaders, successful entrepreneurs, magnetic personalities, people who seem to walk into a room and instantly capture attention. You will learn how to make unforgettable first impressions,
how to make people instantly like you, how to build trust quickly, how to keep conversations flowing naturally, and how to create connections that last for years. But before we go further, you must understand one simple truth. Communication is not about saying more words. It is about creating more connection. And once you understand that, everything changes.
Part 2. The first 7 seconds that decide everything. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. You haven't said a word yet. No one knows your story. No one knows your intelligence. No one knows your achievements. And yet, something powerful is already happening. In the first few seconds, people are silently forming an opinion about you, not based on logic, not based on facts, but based on instinct. Human beings are incredibly fast judges of character. Within moments of meeting someone, our brains begin asking silent questions. Is this person confident? Is this person trustworthy? Is this person interesting? Is this someone I want to talk to or avoid? And the surprising truth is that these judgments often happen before a single sentence is spoken. This is why the first few seconds of any interaction are incredibly powerful. They set the emotional tone for everything that follows. Think about the last time you met someone who immediately made a strong impression. Perhaps they walked into the room with calm confidence. Perhaps they greeted people with warmth. Perhaps they smiled in a way that made everyone feel comfortable. You may not remember exactly what they said, but you remember how they made the room feel. Now imagine the opposite. Someone enters a room looking nervous, avoiding eye contact, shoulders slightly hunched, speaking quietly or awkwardly. Even if that person is intelligent, kind, and interesting, people may never discover it because the first impression quietly closed the door. The reality is simple. People don't only listen to your words, they read your signals, your posture, your eye contact, your smile, your energy, your presence. Long before conversation begins, communication has already started. The most charismatic people in the world understand this deeply. They don't rush into conversations. They enter a room with awareness. They pause. They breathe. They look around with curiosity instead of fear. They stand tall. They smile naturally. They make eye contact as if every person in the room matters. And something fascinating happens. People begin to feel comfortable around them even before a conversation begins. Why? Because confidence is contagious. Calm energy spreads, warmth spreads, presence spreads. One of the simplest techniques used by powerful communicators is something we can call the slow greeting. Most people greet others quickly and mechanically. A quick handshake, a rushed hello, eyes already moving somewhere else. But charismatic communicators slow the moment down. When they meet someone new, they give that person their full attention. They look at them, they smile, they say the person's name clearly, and for a brief moment, they make the other person feel like the most important person in the room. This tiny change transforms the entire interaction. Instead of feeling like a routine greeting, it feels like a genuine connection. Imagine meeting someone who greets you like this. They shake your hand warmly, they look into your eyes, and they say your name slowly. It's really nice to meet you, Michael. Suddenly, something subtle happens inside you. You feel acknowledged, you feel respected, you feel noticed, and because of that feeling, you immediately feel more open toward them. This is the hidden psychology of human interaction. People rarely remember conversations word for word, but they always remember emotional experiences. Did this person make me feel comfortable? Did this person make me feel valued? Did this person make me feel interesting? The people who succeed socially understand that conversation is not about talking, it is about emotional impact, and emotional impact begins with presence. Presence means being fully there in the moment, not distracted, not rushing, not looking past someone while they speak.
When someone speaks to you and they feel that you are truly listening, something powerful happens. They relax, they open up, they trust you more. And trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. Friendships, business partnerships, romantic relationships, leadership, all of them begin with trust. And trust begins with the simple act of making someone feel seen. Think about the people you enjoy spending time with the most. Often they are not the most intelligent people in the room. They are not the funniest. They are not the most impressive. But when you talk to them, you feel good. You feel heard. You feel understood. That feeling is rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. If you learn to give people that feeling consistently, something remarkable happens. People begin to remember you. They begin to enjoy your presence. They begin to trust your voice. Not because you forced them to, but because you made them feel important. And importance is one of the deepest emotional needs every human being carries. In the next chapter, we will explore one of the most powerful tools in human communication, a tool so simple that most people overlook it, yet when used correctly, it can instantly make people feel closer to you. It can turn strangers into friends faster than almost anything else, and it begins with something so small that most people underestimate its power: a smile.
The hidden power of a genuine smile. There's a small gesture, so simple that most people overlook it. It costs nothing. It takes less than a second, yet it has the power to transform how people see you, how they respond to you, and how they remember you. A smile, but not just any smile, a genuine smile. The kind that reaches your eyes, the kind that carries warmth, the kind that silently says, "I'm happy to see you." Human beings are incredibly sensitive to emotional signals. Long before language existed, our ancestors relied on facial expressions to understand one another. A smile meant safety. A smile meant friendliness. A smile meant there was no threat. Even today, thousands of years later, that instinct still lives inside us. When someone smiles warmly at us, our brain immediately relaxes. We feel safe, we feel accepted, and most importantly, we feel welcomed. But when someone's face is cold, neutral, or distant, our brain quietly sends a different signal. Be careful. Keep distance. This is why the smile is one of the most powerful social tools you will ever use. It silently changes the emotional atmosphere around you. Think about the last time you walked into a store, restaurant, or office where someone greeted you with a genuine smile. The experience instantly felt different, warmer, more comfortable, more human. Now imagine the opposite. You walk into a place where people avoid eye contact, speak coldly, and show no emotion. Even if the service is technically good, the experience feels uncomfortable. Because human beings do not only respond to actions, we respond to emotional signals. And the smile is the simplest emotional signal of all. But here's where many people misunderstand the power of smiling. They think smiling means constantly showing happiness. That is not the secret. The secret is sincerity. A forced smile feels artificial. People can sense it immediately. But a genuine smile carries emotional truth. It comes from inside. And that authenticity is what people respond to. Charismatic communicators understand something important. When they meet someone, they do not smile mechanically. They take a moment to truly appreciate the person in front of them, even if it is a stranger, even if it is a brief interaction, because every person carries a story. Every person carries dreams, struggles, memories, and experiences that the world cannot see. When you remember that simple truth, something inside you changes. People stop becoming strangers. They become fellow human beings. And when you approach people with that mindset, your smile naturally becomes warmer, more real, more inviting. Consider a simple example. Two coworkers arrive at the office on the same morning. The first one walks past people silently, focused on their phone, face neutral, shoulders tense. The second one walks in, makes eye contact with people, and smiles. "Good morning."
Just two simple words, yet the emotional impact is completely different. One person moves through the environment unnoticed. The other spreads small moments of positive energy everywhere they go. And here's something fascinating about human psychology. Smiles are contagious. When someone smiles at us sincerely, our brain naturally wants to smile back. Scientists call this emotional mirroring. It's part of how humans create connection. When you smile, you're not just changing your own expression, you're quietly influencing the emotional state of the people around you. And the people who master this skill become magnets for positive interactions. People enjoy talking to them. People feel relaxed around them. People remember them. Not because they tried to impress anyone, but because they made people feel good. Now imagine applying this simple principle in everyday situations. When you meet someone for the first time, when you enter a meeting, when you greet a neighbor, when you speak to a colleague, when you thank a cashier. Each of these moments is a tiny opportunity to create connection. Most people miss those moments because they move through life distracted, rushing, thinking about problems, thinking about tomorrow. But the people who build powerful social lives do something different. They stay present. They notice people. They acknowledge people. And the smile becomes their silent introduction. Before words, before conversation, before anything else, just a small signal that says, "You matter." And sometimes that small signal is all it takes to transform a stranger into a friend. In the next chapter, we will explore another powerful secret of communication, a secret used by charismatic leaders, influential speakers, and people who seem to instantly build trust wherever they go. It's a technique so simple that it almost feels magical, yet it can completely transform how people respond to you. And it begins with something every person carries from the day they're born: their name. If you learn to use this simple tool correctly, conversations will start to feel natural, relationships will deepen faster, and people will remember you long after the conversation ends.
Part 4. The most important sound in any conversation. There is a sound in the world that every human being is naturally drawn to. A sound that instantly captures attention. A sound that creates a feeling of recognition and importance. That sound is a person's own name. From the moment we are born, our name becomes deeply connected to our identity. It represents who we are, how others see us, and how we see ourselves. When someone says our name with sincerity, something subtle happens inside us. We feel acknowledged. We feel noticed. We feel important. And importance is one of the deepest emotional needs every human being carries. Think about how you react when someone remembers your name after meeting you only once. Maybe it was someone you met at an event weeks ago, or someone you briefly spoke to at work. Then suddenly, they greet you again. "Good to see you again, Daniel." In that small moment, something powerful happens. You feel respected. You feel valued. You feel like you mattered enough to be remembered. And because of that feeling, your attitude toward that person immediately becomes warmer. But when someone forgets your name repeatedly or never tries to remember it at all, the opposite feeling appears. You feel invisible, not intentionally ignored, but simply unimportant. This is why remembering and using people's names is one of the simplest yet most powerful techniques in human communication. Great communicators understand this deeply. They treat a person's name like a key that unlocks trust, a key that unlocks connection, a key that opens the door to genuine conversation. Yet most people make a simple mistake. They hear a name once and forget it almost instantly. Not because they have a bad memory, but because they were never fully present when they heard it. Their mind was distracted, thinking about what to say next, thinking about how they appeared, thinking about something completely unrelated. And because they were not fully listening, the name never truly registered. But the people who excel socially do something different. When someone introduces themselves, they pause, they focus, they repeat the name naturally in conversation.
Nice to meet you, Sarah. That small repetition strengthens the memory, and more importantly, it shows respect, because using someone's name is a subtle way of saying, I see you, I recognize you, you matter. Consider a simple example. Imagine you walk into a cafe you visit occasionally. One day, the person behind the counter smiles and says, "Good morning, Alex. The usual coffee?" Suddenly, the experience feels completely different. It no longer feels like a transaction. It feels like recognition, a small human connection inside an ordinary moment. And that is the secret. People crave recognition. In a world where millions of interactions happen every day, the rarest experience is feeling personally acknowledged. This is why leaders, successful entrepreneurs, and socially magnetic people make a habit of remembering names, not as a trick, not as manipulation, but as a sign of respect, because every name represents a life, a story, a journey that only that person has lived. And when you take the time to remember someone's name, you quietly show that their presence matters. Another powerful technique is using someone's name at meaningful moments during a conversation. Not constantly, not mechanically, but naturally, when thanking them, when greeting them, when acknowledging something they said. For example, "That's a really interesting point, Michael." "I appreciate that insight, Sarah." "I'm glad you shared that, David." Each time the name appears, it adds warmth and personal connection to the conversation. But there is another deeper effect. When someone hears their own name, their attention naturally sharpens. Psychologists often refer to this as the cocktail party effect. Even in a crowded room filled with noise, if someone across the room says your name, your attention instantly shifts. Your brain is wired to notice it, which means that using someone's name can also strengthen engagement during conversations. It gently pulls their attention back into the moment, and the more engaged someone feels, the more meaningful the conversation becomes. But perhaps the most important reason to use names is emotional, because behind every name is a person who wants to feel respected, seen, valued. When you use someone's name sincerely, you are doing more than speaking a word. You are giving recognition, and recognition is something the human heart never forgets. In the next chapter, we'll explore another powerful communication secret, a secret that separates ordinary conversations from truly magnetic ones. Most people believe that great communicators are great talkers, but the truth is something very different. The people who build the strongest connections in the world aren't the ones who speak the most. They're the ones who listen the best.
The rare power of truly listening. Most people believe that good communication means speaking well. They imagine confident speakers, powerful storytellers, or people who can talk endlessly without hesitation. But the truth is something far more surprising. The most magnetic communicators in the world are not the best talkers. They are the best listeners. Real listening is rare. In fact, it has become one of the rarest social skills in modern life. Because while conversations are happening, most people are not truly listening. They are waiting for their turn to speak, waiting for a moment to share their opinion, waiting for the conversation to circle back to them. But while they wait, something important happens. They miss the other person. They hear the words, but they do not hear the meaning. And the difference between hearing and listening is enormous. Hearing is automatic. Listening is intentional. Listening requires presence. It requires curiosity. It requires genuine interest in another human being. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you. Not the kind of listening where someone nods while checking their phone. Not the kind where someone interrupts to talk about themselves. But the kind where a person gives you their full attention. Their eyes are focused. Their body language is open. Their reactions show they understand what you are saying. In those moments, something powerful happens. You feel respected. You feel understood. You feel valued.
And because of that feeling, you naturally feel closer to that person. This is why great listeners build stronger relationships than great talkers, because listening creates emotional connection, and emotional connection is the foundation of trust. Trust is the invisible force behind friendships, partnerships, leadership, and influence. Without trust, communication feels empty. With trust, communication becomes powerful. The people who master the art of listening understand something simple but profound. Every person in the world carries stories inside them. Stories about their experiences, stories about their dreams, stories about their struggles. And most people are quietly waiting for someone who is willing to hear those stories. When you listen with real attention, you give people the opportunity to share a part of themselves. And when someone shares a part of themselves with you, something remarkable happens. A bridge forms, a bridge of understanding, a bridge of trust. This is why listening is not passive, it is active. It involves small signals that show you are engaged. Eye contact, nods, short responses like "I see" or "that makes sense." These small signals reassure the speaker that their words matter. And when people feel that their words matter, they begin to speak more openly. But the deepest level of listening goes even further. It listens not only to words, but to emotions. Sometimes a person says one thing, but their feelings reveal something deeper. A friend might say, "Work has been busy lately," but what they truly mean is that they feel overwhelmed. A colleague might say, "Everything is fine," but their tone suggests something is wrong. A skilled listener notices these emotional signals. They ask gentle questions. They invite the other person to share more, not to satisfy curiosity, but to show genuine care. Because behind every conversation is a human being who wants to be understood, and understanding is one of the most powerful gifts you can give. Think about the people who have made the greatest impression on your life. Often they were not the loudest voices in the room. They were the ones who made you feel heard. They listened when you needed to speak. They paid attention when others were distracted. They remembered things you said weeks or months earlier. Those small acts of listening created lasting memories because attention is one of the purest forms of respect. When you give someone your full attention, you are telling them something powerful without words. You are saying, "You matter. Your thoughts matter. Your story matters." And when people feel that kind of respect, they naturally feel drawn toward you. This is why the greatest communicators often speak less than others. They do not rush to fill every silence. They allow space for others to express themselves. And in that space, connections grow. In the next chapter, we will explore something that many people fear, yet it can become one of your greatest social advantages: silence. Most people are uncomfortable with silence in conversations. They rush to fill every quiet moment with words. But the people who understand communication at a deeper level know something different. Silence, when used correctly, can become one of the most powerful tools in conversation.
Part 6. The surprising power of silence. Most people are afraid of silence. When a conversation suddenly becomes quiet, something uncomfortable appears. The mind begins to race. Did I say something wrong? Are they bored? Should I say something quickly? So people rush to fill the silence with words, sometimes meaningless words, sometimes nervous laughter, sometimes random topics that appear without purpose. But the most skilled communicators in the world understand something that most people never realize. Silence is not the enemy of conversation. Silence is part of conversation. In fact, silence can become one of the most powerful tools you will ever use in communication, because silence creates space. And inside that space, something important happens: thought, reflection, emotion. Imagine two different conversations.
In the first conversation, both people speak quickly. One thought immediately follows another. Interruptions happen frequently. The conversation feels rushed and chaotic. Now, imagine a different conversation. Someone shares an idea. The other person pauses for a moment. They think. They absorb the meaning. Then they respond thoughtfully. The rhythm of this conversation feels calmer, more meaningful, more genuine. Why? Because silence allows understanding to grow. It allows people to feel that their words are being truly considered. And when someone feels that their words are valued, they naturally become more open. Silence also carries emotional power. When someone finishes sharing something important, a brief pause can communicate respect. It shows that you're not rushing past what they said. You're allowing the moment to exist. This small pause often encourages the other person to continue speaking. They feel safe enough to expand on their thoughts. They reveal deeper ideas, more personal insights, more honest feelings. This is one of the secrets behind meaningful conversations. They do not move quickly. They move naturally, like a river flowing rather than water being forced through a pipe. Silence also gives you control over the emotional rhythm of a conversation. Confident communicators are comfortable with pauses. They do not panic when a moment becomes quiet. They understand that silence can create curiosity. When you pause slightly before responding, people naturally lean in. They wonder what you will say next. Your words begin to carry more weight. This technique is often used by powerful speakers and leaders. Instead of speaking continuously, they pause after important points. Those pauses allow the message to sink into the minds of the listeners. The silence gives the words room to breathe, and because of that, the message becomes more memorable. But silence has another hidden benefit. It protects you from saying things you might regret. Many communication mistakes happen because people react too quickly. They speak before thinking. They interrupt before understanding. They respond emotionally instead of thoughtfully. A simple pause can prevent these mistakes. When someone says something surprising, frustrating, or confusing, silence gives you a moment to process, a moment to choose your response instead of reacting automatically. This small pause can transform the direction of a conversation. It turns emotional reactions into thoughtful communication. And thoughtful communication builds stronger relationships. Another interesting effect of silence appears during questions. Imagine you ask someone a meaningful question. Then, instead of immediately speaking again, you remain quiet. At first, the other person may give a short answer, but if you remain comfortable with the silence, something interesting happens. They often continue speaking. They expand. They add details. They reveal deeper thoughts. Silence gently encourages people to share more. It tells them that their voice has space in the conversation. And when people feel that space, they begin to open up. The irony is that many people believe they need to speak more in order to be interesting, but the opposite is often true. People remember conversations where they felt free to express themselves, not conversations where they felt overwhelmed by someone else's words. The art of communication is not about dominating the conversation. It is about guiding the conversation, creating rhythm, creating comfort, creating connection. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. In the next chapter, we will explore another fascinating secret of human interaction, a secret that determines whether people feel drawn toward you or distant from you. It is something you carry with you at every moment, even when you are completely silent. Your body language.
What your body says before you say a single word. Your posture, your eyes, your facial expressions, the way you stand, the way you move. All of these signals are constantly sending messages to the people around you. Most people are not aware of this silent conversation. They believe communication begins when someone starts speaking. But in reality, communication begins the moment someone sees you. Human beings are experts at reading physical signals. We do it instinctively, without thinking. Within seconds of seeing someone, our brain begins forming impressions. Does this person seem confident? Does this person seem approachable? Does this person seem nervous? Does this person seem trustworthy? And those impressions often shape the entire interaction. This is why body language is one of the most powerful elements of communication, because it influences how people feel about you before words even appear. Imagine two people entering the same room. The first person walks in slowly, shoulders slightly hunched, avoiding eye contact. Their arms are crossed tightly. Their movements are hesitant. The second person enters the room standing tall. Their shoulders are relaxed. They make gentle eye contact with people around them. Their movements feel calm and natural. Even without speaking, the emotional impact is completely different. One person appears closed. The other appears open. And openness invites conversation. Confidence invites connection. But here is something important to understand. Confident body language does not mean arrogance. It does not mean dominating a room. It simply means being comfortable with your presence, standing naturally, looking at people when they speak, allowing your body to show that you are relaxed and engaged. One of the most powerful signals in body language is eye contact. When used correctly, eye contact creates a feeling of connection. It tells the other person that you are present, that you are paying attention, that they matter in that moment. But eye contact must feel natural. Too little eye contact can make you appear insecure or uninterested. Too much eye contact can feel intense or uncomfortable. The secret is balance, a gentle rhythm of looking and listening. Another powerful signal is posture. The way you carry your body influences not only how others see you, but also how you feel inside. When your posture is open and upright, your breathing becomes deeper, your voice becomes steadier, your presence becomes stronger. But when your posture collapses inward, your energy often follows. You begin to feel smaller, more uncertain, more hesitant. This is why confident communicators pay attention to how they stand and move, not to impress others, but to align their body with the calm energy they want to express. Gestures also play an important role. Natural hand movements can bring life and clarity to your words. They help express ideas visually. They make conversations feel more dynamic. But the key is natural movement, not exaggerated gestures, not forced movements, simply allowing your hands to support the rhythm of your thoughts. Then there is one of the most powerful signals of all, your smile. A genuine smile communicates warmth faster than any sentence. It lowers emotional barriers. It creates comfort. It makes people feel welcome in your presence. But perhaps the most important element of body language is something people rarely think about, your direction. Where your body is facing during a conversation sends a strong message. When your body turns towards someone, it signals attention, interest, respect. But when your body angles away, even slightly, the other person may feel that your attention is somewhere else. These signals are subtle, yet the human brain notices them immediately, because body language speaks directly to emotion. Words speak to the mind, but body language speaks to instinct, and instinct is powerful. This is why two people can say the exact same words, yet the message feels completely different. If the body language is warm and open, the message feels genuine. If the body language is closed or distant, the message feels empty. The people who communicate most effectively understand this silent language. They align their words with their presence, their voice, their posture, their attention,
everything moves in harmony. And when communication becomes aligned like this, something remarkable happens. People begin to trust you more. They feel comfortable around you. They feel that your words are authentic. In the next chapter, we will explore another powerful secret of human connection, a secret that can instantly make conversations feel easier, more natural, and more enjoyable. It involves a simple psychological principle that shapes nearly every social interaction in life. People like people who are similar to themselves.
Why people naturally like people who are like them. One of the most powerful forces in human connection is something incredibly simple: similarity. People naturally feel comfortable around those who seem familiar to them, those who share similar interests, similar experiences, similar attitudes, or even similar ways of speaking. This instinct runs deep in human psychology. For thousands of years, survival often depended on identifying who belonged to your group and who did not. Those who seemed familiar felt safe. Those who seemed different felt uncertain. Even though modern life is very different from ancient times, this instinct still quietly shapes our social interactions. When people sense similarities between themselves and another person, their guard lowers, they relax, they feel understood, and that feeling creates connection. Think about the last time you met someone who shared an interest that mattered to you. Maybe you both loved the same type of music. Maybe you discovered you grew up in similar places. Maybe you realized you had similar career goals. Suddenly, the conversation becomes easier, more energetic, more engaging. Why? Because similarity creates emotional comfort. It sends a subtle message that says, "You understand my world." This is why great communicators pay attention to common ground. They listen carefully during conversations. They notice shared interests, shared experiences, shared opinions. And when they discover those connections, they gently explore them. Not in an artificial way, not as a trick, but as a natural way of building understanding. For example, imagine meeting someone at an event. During the conversation, they mention that they recently started learning photography. Instead of quickly moving to another topic, you might say something like, "That's interesting. What kind of photography are you enjoying the most?" Now the conversation begins to move deeper into a shared interest. Even if you are not a photographer yourself, curiosity creates connection. Another powerful technique related to similarity is something called mirroring. Mirroring is the subtle act of reflecting another person's communication style, not by copying them directly, but by gently matching their rhythm, their tone, their energy. For example, if someone speaks calmly and slowly, responding with a similar pace creates comfort. If someone speaks enthusiastically about a topic they love, matching their excitement creates emotional harmony. Mirroring works because it signals familiarity. It tells the other person on a subconscious level that you are operating on the same wavelength. But the key to mirroring is subtlety. If it becomes obvious or exaggerated, it feels unnatural. True mirroring happens almost invisibly. It is simply the natural rhythm of two people adjusting to each other during a conversation. Another interesting aspect of similarity is shared perspective. People enjoy conversations with those who understand their challenges, ambitions, or values. When someone feels that you truly understand their experiences, they often open up more deeply. For example, if someone shares a challenge at work, responding with empathy creates a sense of shared understanding. That sounds like a difficult situation. I've experienced something similar before. In that moment, the conversation moves from simple discussion into genuine connection, because the other person feels that you are not just listening, you are relating. But perhaps the most important thing to remember is that similarity does not mean pretending to be someone you are not. Authenticity always matters. The goal is not to manufacture connection. The goal is to discover it. And connection exists everywhere when we take the time to notice it.
Shared hobbies, shared experiences, shared goals, shared humor, even shared frustrations about everyday life. These small points of similarity become bridges between people, and each bridge makes conversation easier, more relaxed, more enjoyable. When you begin looking for these bridges in conversations, something interesting happens. Instead of feeling like you are talking to strangers, you begin to see pieces of your own experiences reflected in others, and that recognition makes human interaction feel natural again. In the next chapter, we will explore something that transforms ordinary conversations into unforgettable ones: stories. Because while facts inform the mind, stories capture the imagination. And the people who know how to tell meaningful stories have a unique ability to hold attention, inspire emotions, and create lasting impressions.
Part 9. The Power of Stories in Conversation. Facts inform people, but stories move people. This is one of the oldest truths in human communication. Long before books existed, long before technology connected the world, people gathered around fires and shared stories. Stories about survival, stories about adventure, stories about lessons learned through experience. Through these stories, knowledge traveled from one generation to the next. Even today, the human brain responds to stories in a powerful way. A list of facts may be forgotten quickly, but a meaningful story can stay in someone's memory for years. Why? Because stories engage emotion, and emotion strengthens memory. Think about the last time someone told you an interesting story. Perhaps they described a moment when something unexpected happened. Maybe they shared a personal experience filled with humor or tension. While listening, your imagination became active. You could picture the scene. You could feel the emotion. You were not simply hearing information, you were experiencing it. That is the magic of storytelling. It transforms communication from information to experience. Great communicators understand this instinctively. Instead of explaining ideas in a dry or abstract way, they bring those ideas to life through stories. A short story can illustrate a lesson more clearly than a long explanation. For example, imagine someone trying to explain the importance of preparation. They could give a lecture about planning, discipline, and responsibility, or they could tell a simple story. A story about the day they arrived at an important meeting completely unprepared, how they felt nervous, how the conversation became awkward, how they promised themselves never to repeat that mistake again. That story communicates the lesson instantly because the listener feels the experience. Stories create connection because they reveal something personal. When you share a story, you are opening a window into your life. You are allowing the listener to see moments that shaped your thinking, moments that changed your perspective, moments that made you laugh or struggle or learn something valuable. This vulnerability creates authenticity, and authenticity builds trust. But powerful storytelling does not require dramatic adventures. Some of the most engaging stories come from ordinary moments. A surprising conversation with a stranger, a small mistake that led to an unexpected lesson, a funny misunderstanding, a personal realization that changed how you see the world. What makes a story engaging is not the size of the event, it is the emotion inside it. When you share stories with genuine feeling, people naturally become curious. They lean into the conversation. They imagine the scene. They connect with the emotions. Another important aspect of storytelling is simplicity. The most memorable stories are often the simplest. They focus on one clear moment, one clear lesson, one clear experience. When stories become too complicated, the listener may lose focus. But when the story is clear and vivid, the message becomes powerful. Great storytellers also understand pacing. They do not rush through the story. They allow the moment to unfold gradually. They build curiosity.
They let listeners imagine what happens next, and this rhythm keeps attention alive. Storytelling is also a powerful way to make conversations more enjoyable. A conversation filled only with facts can feel heavy, but when stories appear naturally, the interaction becomes more dynamic, more human, more memorable. People enjoy hearing stories because they feel alive. They carry emotion, they carry humor, they carry meaning. And the most interesting conversations often move naturally between discussion and storytelling. A question leads to a story leads to another idea, that idea leads to another story, and before you realize it, the conversation becomes rich and engaging. But perhaps the most beautiful thing about storytelling is this: stories reveal humanity. They remind us that behind every person is a life filled with experiences, moments of joy, moments of uncertainty, moments of learning. And when we share those moments through stories, we stop being strangers. We become people discovering each other. In the next chapter, we will explore something that can transform the emotional atmosphere of any conversation: humor. Because laughter has a unique ability to dissolve tension, build friendships, and turn ordinary interactions into joyful experiences.
Part 10. The Magnetic Power of Humor. There is a universal language that almost every human being understands. A language that can dissolve tension in seconds. A language that can turn strangers into friends. A language that can make even serious conversations feel lighter and more human. That language is laughter. Humor is one of the most powerful tools in communication, yet many people believe it belongs only to comedians or naturally funny personalities. But the truth is different. Humor in everyday conversation does not require perfect jokes or clever punchlines. Often it comes from simple observations about life, small moments of honesty, playful comments about ordinary situations. When used naturally, humor creates something incredibly valuable in conversation: comfort. Think about what happens when two people laugh together. The atmosphere immediately changes. Barriers soften. Tension disappears. The interaction begins to feel relaxed and enjoyable. Laughter sends a powerful emotional signal. It tells the other person that this space is safe, that the conversation does not need to feel formal or guarded. This is why humor is such a powerful social bridge. It brings people closer together quickly. But the most effective humor is never forced. When someone tries too hard to be funny, the conversation can feel uncomfortable. True conversational humor is light, spontaneous, natural. Sometimes it appears as a small comment on an unexpected moment. Sometimes it comes from laughing at your own mistakes. And that second type, laughing at yourself, is especially powerful. When you can smile at your own imperfections, people immediately feel more comfortable around you, because you are showing that you are human, not perfect, not pretending, just real. Imagine someone telling a story about arriving late to an important meeting. They could describe the situation with embarrassment and tension, or they could share it with humor. I walked into the room trying to look confident, but everyone had already been sitting there for 20 minutes. At that moment, I realized my grand entrance had become a comedy show. When someone tells a story like that, people often laugh, not because the situation was dramatic, but because the honesty feels refreshing. Self-aware humor builds trust. It tells others that you are comfortable with yourself. Another beautiful aspect of humor is its ability to reduce stress. Conversations sometimes touch on serious topics: work pressure, life challenges, uncertainty. A small moment of humor during these conversations can relieve emotional weight. It reminds everyone involved that even difficult situations can be approached with perspective. But humor should always be kind. The goal of humor is connection, not superiority.
Jokes that embarrass others or make someone feel uncomfortable can quickly damage trust. The most effective humor lifts the mood rather than targeting people. It invites others to share the moment rather than placing someone at the center of it. There is also something interesting about laughter. It spreads quickly. When one person genuinely laughs, others often follow. This emotional ripple effect can transform the entire energy of a group. In workplaces, friendships, and social gatherings, humor often becomes the invisible glue that holds people together. The people who bring warmth and lightness into conversations are often remembered long after the discussion ends, not because they said something brilliant, but because they made others feel good. And feeling good is powerful. It creates positive memories. Positive memories create stronger relationships, and strong relationships shape many of the opportunities we experience in life. Another interesting thing about humor is timing. The best humorous moments often appear naturally in response to what is happening in the conversation. They are not prepared in advance. They simply emerge from the situation. This is why the best conversational humor often comes from people who are fully present. They notice the little details around them. They observe the situation. And sometimes those observations turn into light-hearted comments that make everyone smile. Humor reminds us that communication does not need to feel heavy or serious all the time. It can be playful, relaxed, human. And when laughter enters a conversation, something magical happens. People stop feeling like strangers. They begin to feel like companions sharing the same moment. In the next chapter, we will explore one of the most valuable social skills of all, a skill that can strengthen friendships, build trust in professional relationships, and make people genuinely enjoy being around you. The art of giving sincere appreciation. Part 11.
Part 11. The transformative power of genuine appreciation. Every human being carries an invisible desire, a quiet hope that their efforts will be noticed, that their presence will be valued, that what they do in the world, no matter how small, matters to someone. This desire is universal. It exists in every culture, every profession, every stage of life. People want to feel appreciated, not in a superficial way, not through empty compliments that feel automatic, but through genuine recognition. When appreciation is sincere, it creates a powerful emotional impact. It tells someone that their effort was seen, their contribution was noticed, their presence had meaning. And because of that, appreciation becomes one of the most powerful tools in human communication. Think about a time when someone sincerely thanked you for something you did. Maybe it was a colleague who acknowledged your help on a project. Maybe it was a friend who told you that your advice truly made a difference. Maybe it was a stranger who appreciated a small act of kindness. Those moments often stay in memory longer than we expect, because genuine appreciation touches something deep inside the human heart. It confirms that our actions matter. But in everyday life, appreciation is surprisingly rare. Many people notice positive actions, but never express their thoughts. They assume appreciation is already understood, or they become distracted by the pace of life. Yet a few simple words can create a lasting emotional effect. I really appreciate the effort you put into that. That was a thoughtful thing to do. You handled that situation very well. These sentences may seem small, but their impact can be enormous. They strengthen trust. They encourage positive behavior. They create emotional warmth between people. In professional environments, appreciation can transform entire teams. When people feel that their work is recognized, motivation naturally increases. Energy increases. Pride in the work increases.
But when effort goes unnoticed for long periods, motivation often fades. People begin to feel invisible, and invisibility slowly weakens enthusiasm. The same principle applies to friendships and relationships. When appreciation is expressed regularly, bonds grow stronger. People feel valued, they feel respected, they feel seen. But when appreciation disappears, relationships can begin to feel routine or distant. This is why great communicators develop the habit of noticing the positive actions of others. They pay attention to effort. They recognize kindness. They acknowledge improvement. Not because they are trying to manipulate people, but because they understand an important truth. People flourish when they feel valued. But sincerity is essential. Artificial praise is easy to recognize. Compliments that feel exaggerated or insincere often create the opposite effect. They feel empty. Real appreciation focuses on specific actions. Instead of saying something vague like, "You're amazing," a more meaningful comment might be, "I really admired how patiently you handled that difficult situation." This kind of appreciation feels authentic. It shows that you truly observed what happened. Another powerful form of appreciation is gratitude for someone's time or presence. In a world where people are constantly busy, acknowledging someone's time can be deeply meaningful. Thank you for taking the time to talk today. I appreciate you sharing your experience with me. These words communicate respect, and respect strengthens relationships. Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of appreciation is that it benefits both people in the interaction. The person receiving appreciation feels valued, and the person expressing appreciation often feels a sense of connection and positivity. Kindness has a way of returning to its source. When appreciation becomes a natural habit in your conversations, something remarkable happens. People begin to associate your presence with positive emotions. They feel comfortable around you. They feel respected around you. And they genuinely enjoy interacting with you. Because in a world where criticism and indifference often dominate attention, appreciation becomes rare and powerful. In the final chapter, we will bring all these ideas together. You will discover how small communication habits, when practiced consistently, can transform the way people respond to you and the opportunities that appear in your life. Because mastering communication is not about memorizing techniques, it is about understanding people.
Part 12. The skill that quietly changes your life. If you step back and observe the patterns of human life, you will begin to notice something remarkable. Nearly every opportunity, every friendship, every partnership, every meaningful moment begins with a conversation, a simple interaction between two people. And yet, most people move through life without ever learning how powerful those interactions truly are. They believe success depends only on intelligence or talent or luck. But again and again, history shows a different pattern. The people who open the most doors in life are often the ones who understand people the best. They know how to connect, how to listen, how to make others feel comfortable, how to communicate in a way that builds trust instead of distance. Communication is not a trick. It is not manipulation. At its heart, communication is simply the art of understanding other human beings. When you greet someone with warmth, you create comfort. When you remember their name, you create recognition. When you listen deeply, you create trust. When you share stories, you create connection. When you laugh together, you create joy. When you express appreciation, you create respect. Each of these small actions may seem simple on their own, but together they create something powerful, a presence that people remember, a presence that people trust,
a presence that people enjoy being around. Think about the individuals who have had the greatest influence on your life. Often they were not the richest or most famous people you ever met. They were the people who made you feel valued, the people who truly listened when you spoke, the people who made conversations feel easy and natural, the people whose presence brought warmth into the room. Those people understood something important. Human beings do not connect through perfection. They connect through authenticity, through curiosity, through kindness. You do not need extraordinary charisma to become a great communicator. You do not need a perfect personality. You only need awareness. Awareness of the people around you. Awareness of how your attention affects others. Awareness that every interaction is an opportunity to build a bridge between two human lives. When you approach conversations with that mindset, everything begins to change. Instead of feeling nervous about what to say, you become curious about the other person. Instead of worrying about impressing others, you focus on understanding them. Instead of seeing strangers, you begin to see potential connections. And slowly, something remarkable happens. Conversations become easier. Friendships grow naturally. Professional relationships become stronger. New opportunities appear in places you never expected. Because when people feel respected and comfortable around you, they naturally want to collaborate with you. They want to include you. They want to share ideas with you. And these small moments of connection gradually shape the direction of your life. But like any skill, communication improves with practice. Every conversation is a chance to learn something new, to observe how people respond, to refine your awareness, to deepen your understanding of human nature. Sometimes conversations will flow effortlessly. Other times they may feel awkward. Both experiences are part of the journey, because the goal is not perfection. The goal is connection, and connection grows through patience, curiosity, and genuine interest in others. If you remember nothing else from this journey, remember this simple truth. Every person you meet carries a story you have never heard, a story shaped by experiences you cannot see. When you approach people with curiosity instead of judgment, conversations become more meaningful. You begin to discover ideas, perspectives, and lessons inside those stories. And through those discoveries, your world quietly expands. Communication, at its highest level, is not about speaking beautifully. It is about creating understanding between people. It is about building bridges where distance once existed. It is about turning brief encounters into meaningful human moments. And when you learn to create those moments consistently, something extraordinary happens. Your life becomes filled with richer conversations, stronger relationships, and opportunities that begin with the simplest of human acts, talking to someone. You are the architect of your own freedom.